Hi everybody, another surprise video. I had a, oh no, yesterday. Did you guys hear me? There was no swear words involved, but there was a huge, oh no. Well, I had this type of cactus, succulent, in the window. I don't know if you remember. It was a big one, and it's outside all summer in the full sun. And I of course had cut the spike off that purple orchid. The one that's in flower back here is in a vase, and I thought, I think I'll put it in the window. And there's no need for that succulent to be in the window now. In the summer, it could stay there all day. It wouldn't bother it. So, of course, it's heavy. It's in a great big pot and it's heavy. And I'm reaching over and I'm lifting it and I'm bringing it forward. It's got things dangling down. Well, those things dangling down caught an orchid. It went crashing to the floor. It was one of the sewer pipes that Jack had made, the white one. I'm going to show you in a minute. And it crashed on the floor, and I went, oh no, because I'm picturing each orchid had a spike. It had one that suffered and took, well over a year to really start to do good. They both had come at the same time, put them in the same pot, but it just took them a long time. And it shows in their leaves. And then they finally started spiking. It hit the floor and it crashed. So let me see if I can show you. So I've got it stuck in this pot right now, which I was keeping it in there on something. But because it was on this thing, and Jack made this pot, and anyway, it was always seemed to be a little like this. Look, it crashed to the floor. It made a dent in the, not a dent, but a hole in the floor, and it fell right over, and it hit with a bang. And it had two spikes coming. And what I had done was, I had already staked them. Now see, it wants to fall. It won't fall anymore. I'd already staked them. And the stakes were those round, I had taken the metal stake from an old flower, made it round, because on a thin pot, it fit real nice. So they both staked and clipped. And I thought, broken leaves. But as you can see, the plant survived. Now it shows signs of how much it suffered, this awful leaf here. And it was just starting to come on its own, one better than the other. And that happens. Plus it had suffered for so long. Okay, I know she wants to be with her mom. So I thought, well, I had this traffic cone, and I was trying to decide what to do with it. So you know what I'm going to do with it? And not yet, because I do want them to flower. I don't think I should be taking them out of that pot right now. So one day, besides, I have to paint it. So I'll be putting some gesso on and getting a paint for it. And it's kind of a nice one because it sits. It doesn't take up as much space as the tall ones. The tall ones are good because I can hang things on them. So that's what happened. I was so worried. It just bothered me so much. You know what it's like. And the other thing, if you're starting to stake your orchids and you have something sticking up, put something on the end. Now, this might seem silly, but have you ever bent over and got a stick in your eye? Well, this has happened to more people than you would ever know. Close calls and happen. So, put a butterfly on it, put a little bird on it, put anything on it so that those stakes aren't sticking straight up where you can hurt yourself. So, please remember that. So I'll just put this over here, back where it goes, and I had it on the end. I had it on the end, which was probably not the best place. Now it's in the middle. So, I hope you guys are doing good. We're going to have a little bit of a visit today and say some things that I think are important. So, I want to talk about Alfinia because, now, if any of you have, because I showed her flowers, she's been in flowers since I got her on April 28th. I think this is the last flower for now, and that's good. I would like her to grow some leaves, and but there is one left. And if you go hunting for information on this orchid, is near to impossible. This is the one that when I ordered from Roehampton Orchids, they sent me one free. So I don't know why it took me so long to discover this. Oh, I know. First I should say, when I first started doing these videos, I'm not a papered orchid person or flower person. I don't have credentials. I don't know all the names of all the species. And why I started, because I thought, well, just normal, average people like me get orchids. And we don't know what to do with them. And we throw them out. And I started getting them because I have people with bad allergies in my family. My mom was never allowed to have flowers in the house. And I'd taken her more artificial flowers than I can remember. And when I finally got an orchid, and some people say, well, when was that? I can't remember when my first one was exactly, but that's how it all started. And it was maybe 2008 or 9, something like that. And of course there was a lot of mistakes that I don't want other people to have to make. And there was a lot of trial and error. And so I am a normal person. I'm just like you guys. I'm just an average person. A lot of you know more than I do. But this is how an average person learn to look after orchids and have them bloom over and over and over again. Now let's put Alfinia aside for a minute. So, I think it was 2015 I did my first. I had a few orchids. I was so proud I'd been reblooming them, and I thought, you know, I should share this. There's still very few people in this area. I should start placing cards around that keep them. I've gone to garage sales and people have this pile of bark or moss or whatever it is, a pot, what it came in, and there's nothing there. And they're waiting for it to rebloom and they're selling it in a garage sale. So anyway, I have done a lot of reading over the years. And every time I read something, I had this portfolio. Now, only when I read something that I thought was very informative, I would make copies. And those days when I'm really bored, or I would sit and, instead of reading another book, I would sit and read this. So, over time, over mistakes, over just hunting and watching videos, I used to watch quite a few of the videos you still see. Miss Orchid Girl, I used to watch her. And I watched Duenza. And let's see, anything where, then I started hunting all YouTube, all notes, all everything, read everything. And then I kept learning more and more and more. So now we've got to this stage where, thanks to you guys sending your pictures to the community channel. Now, if you want to share your orchid pictures with other subscribers and visit, comment, share, ask questions, then send a picture to carolynorchidfriends@gmail.com. Then I save those pictures and I put them onto the community channel, and the first thing I always say is whose orchids they are, and then people comment. Now, if I put your orchids, if you send me a picture, you are giving me permission, because I can't do it without your permission. So if you send me something you want to post, you give me your permission. If you send something that's just for me to look at, please state this is just for you. And through looking at these beautiful orchids, because all we ever see is hybrids, grocery store orchids, no-name orchids. That's all we ever see here. So it's given me, I've seen them on videos, but it was just like when I first started with the Phalaenopsis. You don't think you can. No, I can't. You know, all those negative things. So anyway, thanks to people sending, we all get educated. We all see what we can do. We get a name of an orchid. We see the picture. We know a little bit about the person. You can ask them questions. So if you want to send a picture as your orchid's blooming, or you have a problem, you want to send a picture of the problem, see what other people think. Now, I do not post my orchid pictures there because you see mine on the video. This is something that I put together and I keep up just so you guys can visit, and I get to see them anyway, so that's nice. So then I graduated to this book. And in this book, I keep all my more things, like the poem I wrote about why I love orchids. I keep all my top information from research I've done all the time. Things I feel are more important. But at the back, and this is something that if you don't do it, I really suggest you do. Because if you're playing at getting new orchids, shouldn't say playing, but if you're planning on getting something other than grocery store orchids, and you're not used to it, in the back of this, I have this page titled My Orchids. Oops. And in here, I list new ones, because when you buy a species, you really should look up as much information as you can find on that species for growing. And lots of times, it's not just one way of growing something. You'll read and you'll find that a lot of people try and get a plant to go with their situation, how the other orchids are living. And you read up about that one, and it might be a little bit different, so you can play around with pots or humidity or pebble trays or many different things to get that orchid, new one. So when you get one, like when I got my cymbidiums, and I keep the receipt for that in the back, and I got my cymbidiums from, they're not in business anymore, but they were Forest View Gardens. Oh no, the cymbidiums I got at a garage sale, and I didn't know what they were. They're beautiful, and I got two and a rat ate one. It just wrecked it. So the cymbidiums. I keep all my receipts, but the dendrobiums I bought from Forest View Gardens, and I bought them in 2017. So I keep in the back all the receipts to all the orchids that I've started to buy that are species. It's a good thing to do. You can look back at the year you got it and whatever. Then the next thing I do is look up those names, get all the information, and when I want to, you know, when you first get something, once you've had it a few years, like the cymbidiums and dendrobiums, it took me a few years to get them to flower. But once I figured it out and got it going, so then I don't have to refer to it so much. But now the new ones, because I've gotten all the new ones that I've just got recently, like Alfinia and the Melatonopsa, the Melitaceae, and the the one I always have trouble I always have trouble pronouncing that one with the spots on its leaves. So I don't know why I do. I just do. And I have more coming. So you don't remember exactly what conditions those orchids like. So, you know, you might look at it or you start doing everything the same, but always go back until it really sinks in. Phalaenopsis, Sharina or whatever. There's my information on her. So I keep this one more handy than the other one because this is all my important stuff. And this is still very educational to read in the winter. So I think it's a good thing to do if you're just starting orchids. You can even make notes on a particular orchid. I have my videos, but any orchid you get, you can put when you got it, anything you know about it, and you can keep an ongoing reference. And it might not seem important now, but it is. Like to me, I go, well, the Melatonopsis, what was that again? And it's like the Melitaceae, she likes to be a little warmer, and I moved her into this other window. Okay, so that all led to Alfinia. She was my free one when I ordered. And it is, I don't know if you've searched out information on care on her, very difficult. So Carolyn had a brainwave, and it only took since April. It only took since April for me to have a brainwave. And I thought, well, you know what I should do is look up the parents. I can't find anything on her to speak of, so I'll look up the parents. And the parents were Felviolacea and Felfinia. And when I looked up them, it was so interesting. And there's another joy of doing orchids. You never know where it's going to lead you. And if you live somewhere where you have 6 months of winter, it is so nice to watch these orchids from the little tiniest spike to the flowers. And when you do it your first time, you are hooked. And you know what? I thought, oh well, you know, it's just fine to have a few, and the little ones don't take up much space, and I never thought I'd have this many. And it was watering day today, and I guess I started about 9 and was through about 10:30, quarter to 11. I don't feel it's too much work. It is a little work on watering day, but it's not hard work. I have my watering schedule. Oh, and I should say, today was water day 3 or 2, and it was the fertilizer, so I put the CalMag in and the fertilizer. Now, most of the orchids are getting the one with the high middle number, but my new orchid that I just cut the spike off, it got a high average numbers all across, as best as you can get, or high 1, and the end one, not the middle one, because you want roots growth, leaf growth to happen. So that one I did not give to the bloom buster. And I also saved a bucket of the water, and in the pouring rain went outside, quit now, to the greenhouse. And because the dendrobiums have lots of little buds now is the time I decided, once you see those buds, I think you can up the watering because they've been on a fairly dry schedule. So now I upped the watering. I gave them some of that leftover fertilizer. And I also did the cymbidiums. I see flowers peeking out on one spike. I won't be bringing them in until the majority of them are going. But anyway, I learned a lot about her through one of her, through Violacea. It says Violacea, and I'm going to put a link to this in the description, is one of the most famous phalaenopsises. It's like from the rainforest, likes high humidity, and if it's going to grow in a pot, it likes bark chips and perlite, or if it's growing on a mound, then it's moss. So this is what they have found, and it was very interesting reading. And it also says hanging baskets are good because of, you know, I did learn something, because this had such a little spike, and I had this little tiny stick, and I clipped it on there. Guess what it says in this? It says they have short spikes, but they can have hundreds of flowers once this plant is going, that it helps to clip them because they just hang down and you don't see them. So it will look nice in a hanging basket. So that will be done. And it might be a little big for the basket at first, but I think I'm going to probably put it in one of my baskets. And then it can be kept watered good. It will drain good. It likes to be watered and kept quite wet, but it likes it to run through. It doesn't want it to stay there. It wants it to run through, so therefore a basket will be good too. And when the flowers like to hang down, that's also good too. So I learned so much about it. And I'm gonna, if anybody has any interest, they're a sequential bloomer. The leaves can go 6 to 10 inches long. So this is a baby, but it's gonna grow. So the biggest thing is it not sitting wet all the time. So I did learn that. So I guess it's sort of what I'm saying is to do your research. If you can't find something, hey, ask the community channel. Send a picture. Say, I can't find anything on this orchid. Or please, if you have a real beauty, please send a picture in so everybody else can drool over it and say, I want one. So I got a tracking thing for the orchids I ordered, and apparently they're going to be here tomorrow, so you'll probably see me unboxing it tomorrow, and some other little mischief I might get into. So that is it, isn't it, Maggie? And what we're going to do is show you a tour. Almost all the orchids are now in spike, and the 3 or 4 that aren't, I know why. And you should know why. If yours aren't spiking, you should know why. And if you don't, ask for help, because it's really simple. And the trouble is, depending on your temperature, some people have trouble because it never cools down where they are. So if they've been out in the heat and somewhere and outside for most of summer, just even bringing them inside is a lot of help. But to get them to say 58 would be kind of a nice temperature, however you can do it. ice, bowls of ice, a fridge, putting your orchids in. There's some people in Arizona, they have an old fridge, just set at the perfect temperature, and at night when they go to bed, they put their orchids in for a couple weeks, and then they bring them out. It does make a big difference. All the for the hybrids, most of the stuff you read, it says yes, it does. The daylight and the time of daylight makes a big difference, but the temperature drop for the cymbidiums, for the dendrobiums. I never used to drop my dendrobiums low enough, and as soon as I did, then they did better. So I'm going to take you for a little tour, and that'll be it for today. Thank you for joining me. I love communicating with all you, and I met so many nice people, friends for a lifetime. So I just love it all, and I hope you do too. So let's do a little tour. See what we can get into. Okay. So it was watering day today, and I put some weight on these ones. Just some little, they're doing good. In fact, they're doing really good in here, and I'm seeing new growth coming down in here, and most of them are doing good. Horella reticula, I thought the extra weight, it's not just for decoration, but they love to feel snug, and I thought that extra weight would help. So I'm very happy with this. Like I said, if I did it again, I probably would have left the fern in the pot, but I'm not changing it now. So here we are, and this is the orchid that I cut the spike off. It's still doing well. Today I changed the water, clipped it off a bit again, put in a little lemon juice and some soda water and regular water. So there's a few wimpy ones, but mostly it's still doing really good. So here's where the big accident happened. So I did have the one that fell off here, and on this piece of glass I had the big succulent, and so when I dragged it over, oh boy. So anyway, the ones that aren't spiking, well, Big Lips, she spiked in the summer, and she's getting a new leaf, and she's fairly new, so she's doing good. This one has a spike. Okay. This is the one that crashed, and we have 2 spikes coming, and I took the stakes off. So and this is one of my older orchids, and it's Moonglow, and she has one here, and of course I didn't really intend, I cut this inflorescence quite high, didn't intend this, but she decided she wanted to send out something there too. Now whether it takes from this one, I don't know. This one's in spike. This is one of the ones that was out all summer in the greenhouse, never got cared for properly, never came in the house at all through all the smoke. I brought them in the patio, which was still getting smoke and very hot. So she's in spike, and I noticed the other one that was out there, it has a spike started too. So those are in spike, and this traffic cone has a spike. The little one on the top. If you have tall windows, it's handy. You can hang things from all kinds of things you find. All those have spikes. And the Monet pot, this one has 2 spikes. This one 1, this one 1. And this is where I put the one I just cut the spike off. So we know why that one doesn't have one. And this one has a spike. So those are all doing good. Now we're going to go into the other room. And over in front of the window, you'll see the culprit. Well, I was the culprit, but there's the plant I was taking off. We'll go there in a minute. So anyway, here, this one is growing a new leaf. The there's no spike on this one. This is the one I repotted and cut all those beautiful roots that were stuck on here. It did not like it. Next time I just dump the bark out and dump more in and leave them all attached. They do not like to be unattached. But its leaves are very healthy and it's going to be fine. So that one doesn't have one. And this is the one I did in this big pot on around Valentine's Day. I took this one, one big white one I had. It has a beautiful big spike. And I noticed this is the new one and it was suffering because look at this little leaf. It was suffering, but it still got its leaves and I noticed it has a spike coming. So this is Fel Memoria Retic. She's kind of like slipper orchid treatment. No real direct sun. She's been getting more leaves and she's usually a late flowerer, so she's not in spike. And this is a new one that was in bloom when we gave away all our stuff. So it's not in spike. And this one's in spike. And this one is in spike. And up here, both of them are in spike. And this one is not yet. Not sure why. And the ones in the basket, nothing in spike. Of course, one was in a funniest looking flower for most of the summer. So now we'll go to the front. There's the Hoya. We'll go to the front. And also, this is the plant. Of course, it had these, it spent all summer out in the patio, and it had these hanging tendrils that were hanging down, and they caught the pot just enough to knock it off. And we'll finish with a look at our weather outside. Snow on the hills. It rained most of the morning. It's quite wet, and it's about 40 degrees out there. So that is it. Isn't it, Maggie? Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Yeah, bye now.